Everybody, I just want to do a little bit of a show and tell today. This is for a project that I won't be doing for a little while. It will likely be sort of a project that I do in between next year, Beastmen, and French and Indian War. Just something to do, maybe just to take a break at one point. Something small in the grand scheme of things. But I've talked about it now in the past a couple of times that I'm interested in doing Advanced Dungeons & Dragons battle systems. Now, I had my eye on a couple of companies that had miniatures that I wanted to represent the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons sort of factions or, creatures that I wanted to have in a mass battle army. I was planning on definitely doing two sides and doing something good, something evil. But one of the companies that I had in mind was Splintered Light Miniatures. And so today I'm going to take a look at Splintered Light Miniatures. I've never purchased them before. To be honest, I've never really purchased 15mm models before. My DBA army was a gift to me, and it was already primed and manipulated, and I never really kind of went through a process of buying it. And so, to my knowledge, I've never really purchased a 15mm miniatures before. Now, this is 15mm fantasy. Now, as I go through and show you some of the models that I've picked up for this mass battle, I'm going to show you a couple of the pictures that I've looked at a bit for Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, some of the black and white and color photos that would be sort of examples of these monsters back in the day. Now, I'll start with the miniatures that are going to make, at least for this initial force, the bulk of the force. I decided in looking at Splinter Light Miniatures that I really would like to have sort of a Bullywug or Toadmen style army, because if you look, although they're not the most common creature in AD&D, if you look back at a lot of the early modules and monster manuals and things, there definitely were these sort of like Black Marsh, toad kind of creatures that I thought were really cool and representative and fairly, I'm not going to say they were unique to D&D, but they're fairly something that you don't see every day in fantasy. And so so I ended up getting 3 packs of 12 of the Toadmen packs, and what that equates to in the mass battles game is 360 Toadmen, because really each guy represents 10 men. Now, none of these have been cleaned up. They've been pulled right out of the bag, but I'll just show you these here. Turn my light here a bit. I really think they're cool looking, to be honest. I really think they're neat. This one, I think, may end up being a leader character. There's definitely a little bit of flash. Here's another one. Looks like he's got his mouth open, exposing teeth of some sort. So pretty cool. There are 12 unique poses, and so of the 36 miniatures, there'll be 12 unique poses, so 3 of each. Now, to keep within the theme of the marshes and stuff, and probably in some ways even more interesting to me, or I guess not interesting, but just something I think back on quite a bit with the Lizardmen within D&D, which the Lizardmen in D&D seem very different to me than the Lizardmen in Warhammer. These models I like, but in some ways, I kind of wish they had things like chainmail on and stuff, because I found the Lizardmen to be very humanoid in the way they were in D&D. They weren't as prehistoric as I see a lot of the interpretations of Lizardmen now. Having said that, I think these guys kind of fall a little bit in between. Now I have 2 packs of 10 of these Lizardmen, so that equates to 200 of them. And there will be a leader character, or at least 2. This is interesting. I noticed most of them have like a typical hand weapon, although this one is holding something. I'm not sure. That's a skull. Oh, it is a skull. That's what it is. He's actually holding a skull in his hands. Interesting. I thought he might have been playing an instrument, but that's clearly a skull. There's 2 like that. But I'll just show, I just grabbed these out randomly. I'll show a couple more just because. Here's one holding a club. It's got a bit of a bent spear here. I'll have to straighten the back of this spear out, but here's one with a spear and a shield. Now, because I'm not really that into the prehistoric look for Lizardmen, as I said, I'm thinking I'm going to paint the shield sort of blackish gray to sort of mute. I don't want them to be like a tortoise shell look, like sort of prehistoric kind of look. So I think that's what I'm going to do. But I do think they look cool. They look pretty neat. So far I have my Reptilian Black Marsh, I think, sort of AD&D warband. And now I think with these alone I'm at over 500, and I think I've got a fairly respectable force of 500 strong to try out the rules with, just with these 2 packs. Now, one thing I didn't mention is a friend of mine had alerted me that Splintered Light has a sale going on to the end of the year. Now, I've purchased these. This video is not supported, so as I shout out the company or this sale, it's only for your benefit, not because I'm doing this for Splintered Light or anything like that. And so, just so you know, if you are interested in 15mm models, whether it be historical or fantasy, you might want to check out Splintered Light because they have a 25% off sale to the end of the year. With that aside, that's the reason why I've bought everything else that I'm showing you for the most part. I bought really 2 more packs, just because they're things that I've wanted to match up with other aspects of armies I want to do in the future. And to some degree, they're models I just couldn't resist. Even though they don't fit with my Black Marsh theme, I really couldn't resist these. Now, if you like D&D, then you probably are quite aware of the D&D style troll, which is just so different than many styles of trolls out there. They're kind of terrifying looking, to be honest. When I was a little kid, looking at pictures, like, because I started playing D&D in like 3rd, 4th grade in the 80s, and wow, this guy, I didn't notice this on the site, he's brandishing this. Oh no, that's Flash. I thought he was brandishing a knife. That's just Flash. That's what that is. It looks like he's holding a big knife there for a second, but it's like a big piece of Flash. But I found the AD&D trolls to be very terrifying looking as a young kid playing D&D. Like when I would look at the pictures of them, it was like, yeah, if I'm going to be going into a dungeon or down in the depths in the caverns and this came out, that would truly be terrifying. Something animated like that. And so even today, like when I see these models, they really do invoke a very cool feeling, you know, that I really identify with this aesthetic for trolls. And then they give you like sort of a larger troll as well, that he's a bit larger than the other ones. A troll leader of some sort. And actually he's wearing armor, it looks like. Yeah. So, I have 5 trolls, which really equates to 50 trolls in this game. And I'm going to be doing I'll call it a goblinoid type army. I'm looking at hobgoblins because it's AD&D. I want orange hobgoblins. Hobgoblins of the style of, you know, AD&D, Old Ralpartha, that kind of look. And so I'm looking at having in the way I have a Black Marsh force here of frogmen and lizardmen, I'm looking at a goblinoid army where the mainstay is hobgoblins for my next baddie army that I'll do for this game. And trolls will be really good in general, I think, just to add to a forest to complement. But for the more goblinoid army, my shock troops, my sort of, we'll call them the shock troops of the goblin, you know, the bigger shock troop, heavier duty guys that aren't giants and things. I really liked the bugbears from Splintered Light. They just look so good. They look really, they have that, well, one, bugbears aren't really something you see in a lot of games. Like, you don't see them in Warhammer, to my knowledge. Where you do see various types of hobgoblins and trolls and things. You definitely see lizardmen. Not as, I guess the Slan had frogmen type characters too, but you don't specifically see, if I correct me if I'm wrong, at least not in the later renditions, bugbears. Might have saw them in like the first early Warhammer, because there was a lot of crossover with D&D then. But the AD&D bugbears look very much like this. And they're tough. I mean, like, bugbears are a level above orc and hobgoblin, which are definitely levels above goblin, you know, pure goblin kobold in size, but still sort of somewhat related and work together. And so these guys will be good as shock troops. I think I have 12 of these, so 120 bugbears. So, really just a quick look at some Splintered Light stuff. I will mention that with their order, they gave me a bonus thank you of a, it looks like a sort of evil human. And I'm guessing maybe he picked that just given the kind of stuff that I grabbed here. But it looks like an evil human, or maybe I'm dead. Let me see. Let's see. I think that that's like an evil sorcerer, be it undead or human. That'll fit really well, you know. I was planning on using some of the evil Toadmen and Lizardmen in there as sort of my leaders, but I could potentially use this guy too as a character in this game, which would be great. So those are the beginnings of my AD&D forces to try out the rules for Battlesystem, mass battles in the fantasy era of TSR as Dungeons & Dragons from the early 90s. And there'll be more to come with this, most likely. This isn't, I'm not going to say it's not a priority, because it kind of is, but and very much from a gaming perspective. But I don't see this as going to be too difficult to paint up. But it's going to be sort of just a side project to do in the spring, after I've already started my Beastmen and my French Indian War for next year. Alright, hope you guys found this interesting, and talk to you later.